What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Real Stories of Success podcast. I'm Ryan Herget, sitting here with my good buddy, Austin Lar. Austin, what is the good word in the world today, man?
Oh man, just trying to make it through the corona mishap virus. How about you, man? What's going on in real estate right now? Are you able to show houses? Walk the audience through that.
Yeah, no, they actually, super interesting on that. The governor here in Indiana just changed the rules on that a little bit. Real estate had previously been considered an essential business, and it still is, but they have strongly clamped down on what we can do, highly encouraging us, if it is not 100% necessary to go out and into a house, then do not do it. So what that means, we're getting some clarification right now, because I don't know if I can get photos taken of houses, but certainly, as things go a little deeper into this Corona pandemic, the rules of the game are changing, and we're doing our best to stay in front of them. But speaking of that, one thing I have been doing is stealing some pages out of our guest playbook today. Mr. Mike Feldman is the #1 real estate agent in social media in Indianapolis. And this dude has only been in the business a short while, but I am stealing pages out of his playbook as we go. So, Austin, who are we talking to today,
man? We're excited to have Mike with us, Mike Feldman. So Mike is our first interview that's sitting outside. So for those of you guys that are watching on YouTube, he's coming to us from his backyard, it looks like. Mike's been in the business for 5 years. He's a partner in his firm. Really, really impressive numbers. The guy did 28 million in 2019. Only 5 years in the biz. How impressive is that? And then he's an Indy guy, true and true. He grew up Carmel, went to IU, lives in Meridian Hills. We can actually tell from that brick that it is Meridian Hills in the background there. So Mike, great to have you on here, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the honor.
No, so let's kind of start at the beginning of your story, Mike, because you've really had a huge amount of success in a relatively short period of time. I mean, I think I was looking at your numbers, and you helped 94 people last year get into a home on your own. That's a huge number. Doing $28 million in volume, in essence, not necessarily on your own, but for a very small group, that is without a doubt very impressive. So super excited to unbox that a little bit. But what got you started down this journey of real estate sales? And kind of bring us up to speed, Mike.
Yeah. So, about 34 years ago, I was born. And then a couple steps along the way, I think my story in real estate is very similar to most other agents that you don't necessarily go to college for residential real estate. Sure. It was a kind of a second career for me. I graduated college, and then for the next 5 years or so, I just kind of bounced around from random entry-level sales position. Punch a clock at 9 o'clock in the morning, make 100 dials, punch it out at 5 o'clock at night. And then I kind of stumbled into new construction, worked for a local home builder for about a year and a half or so. And within about 2 days, I realized it just wasn't the best fit for me. Sitting in a model home 5 days a week, rain or shine, it just was not ideal. So I left that company, kind of tried to do some soul searching, trying to figure out what the next step for me was. And a friend of mine, she kept on pressing me to get into real estate. And I kept on kind of blowing her off. But finally, I sat down with a couple top agents and decided that, I think I can make this work. And so, like I said, about 5 years ago, I joined a small little indie mom and pop type of brokerage, 10 agents, I think, and just kind of hit the ground running. I kind of felt like I had my back up against the wall because we had just had our first kid, my first year in the business. And we knew that we didn't want my wife to go back to work, at least not for a while. And so I was going to be the only breadwinner. And so I've kind of found that that's when I do best, when my back is up against the wall, saying, I burned the ships. I said, I have no choice but to succeed, or else, I don't even want to think about what would happen if I didn't see some sort of success with real estate.
So we ask this question a lot of our guests, but you truly are probably one of the top 5 that I see on social media. I mean, that is the truth. So guys out there, if you aren't friends with Mike, go link up with him on Insta, on Facebook, on all of those things. But Mike, I want to dive into it because the audience really could learn. Tell us maybe your process. Okay. So do you have daily goals on social media? I know you've got everything from personal stuff to business stuff to videos to, it just seems it's very well planned out. So are there daily goals? What are some maybe things that you would tell our audience that they could do if they're just starting out? But kind of walk us through your social media platform there.
Yeah. So like up until about 3 years ago, I would just browse cat videos and poke people on Facebook and just random stuff like that. But it wasn't until I actually started to see some tangible business as a direct result of social media that I then looked at it saying, wow, this could actually be a pillar of my business. Here in real estate, we have, there's like FSBOs, expireds, sphere of influence, and, and all these, sign calls, things like that. I also add social media as a pivotal pillar in my business. I think that most other agents, they just kind of view it as, I don't have time for social media, or when I do have time, I'll just throw something random up there. But, I time block for social media just as much as I time block for calling expires or calling my sphere and things like that. And so it's definitely been a work in progress. And I like, from my perspective, I feel like I'm just now really getting started with social media. Because I'm comparing myself to agents in other markets, mostly like California and New York, like these big markets, and seeing what they're doing on social media. And I'm like, why can't I do that? And so, but they have full-time videographers follow them around, and they have full-time people who only shoot content for them. And obviously they're selling hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So that plays a factor. But kind of going back to your question, I don't really create like a schedule. Like I know that if you reach out to a lot of social media consultants, they'll say write out a schedule on what to post and things like that. I just kind of keep an eye out for what to post, right? So if I'm in a cool listing, I'll hop on Instagram real quick and do an Instagram story of it. And for the most part, Instagram is my main platform. What you see on YouTube and Facebook is just as a result of what I put on Instagram, because my demographic is more so on Instagram than Facebook. I'm starting to dabble into YouTube a little bit more. That's just a whole nother beast, but I'm starting to kind of get my feet wet there. But yeah, like it just kind of goes back to keeping an eye out for good content, but also getting inspired from other agents around the country. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned is that I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to putting out content. I'll see something that another agent puts out there, whether it's a photo or a video, and that kind of inspires me, and I'll put my own twist on it. The classic R&D, rip off and duplicate. And so so many agents are like, I don't know what to post. I don't know how to post. I don't know how often to post. But there's, hundreds of millions of other people out there that they're doing it really, really well. And so my advice is, take what they're doing and get inspired by it, and then put your own twist on it, and then put it out there. There's no sense in trying to, only come up with organic content. Now, you obviously don't want to copy everything, but just take it as inspiration, and then put your own little personal twist on it.
So I've got to dive into a couple examples of what you just laid out there. I saw you post something, this is maybe a month or two ago at this point, but you were holding a cardboard box, looked like maybe standing somewhere in Indianapolis, and I want to be a realtor was what was written on it. And dude, I loved that post. Looked like you had an incredible amount of engagement on with that specific post. And I think that's one of the things that I hope people take away is that it's just about being genuine. It's about being authentic. It's about doing you. And finding somebody that's maybe you follow on social that you can just kind of, like you said, the R&D and steal what they're doing, to copy a page out of their playbook, and
Yeah,
there's simply no reason to reinvent the wheel. So,
yeah.
so I love that.
That's one of the reasons. I personally don't have a business Instagram page. The team has an Instagram page, just kind of a placeholder. We don't do a whole lot of we post, new listings and things like that, but we don't do a whole lot with it yet. We're kind of working on that. But for me, I don't have a Mike Feldman realtor page and a Mike Feldman personal page. It's all mushed into one, and I try to just be aware of how much business I'm posting versus how much personal stuff I'm posting. I don't have a rule or anything like that. I don't say every 3 posts has to be a personal post or vice versa. Because, when people hire us to work for them really, and to work with them, they're hiring us. And so when they hire me, they have to accept that I have kids, that, I want to be home by 5, 6, maybe 7 o'clock at night. And so when they see my social media page, they're learning more about me, because that's who they're hiring, which is me, not my resume. Right. And so
I agree with that. Yeah.
I'm not saying that every agent needs to merge their business and personal pages together, but for me, it's just worked out the best, that they can connect with me on a personal level when they hire me on a professional level.
How important do you think that is? Hey, Austin, I'm so sorry. You just said something that I wanted to dive into, though, and that's, social media really has become that, that mechanism where people go to get to know you. And what you just said there, I could not agree more with, because it's, when you can have a conversation with somebody that you've been following on social media, it immediately helps bridge that gap between stranger and friend, I feel. And what you just said, I hope people go back and rewind it, because that's everything. Because once people have an opportunity to follow you, then they get to know you a little bit, and then they just reach out and say, I want to buy a house, right? Yeah. Those are not the hard clients that you have to have, a beat up sparring match on the phone. They're calling you, asking you to help them. Is that fair?
Yeah, very much so. I kind of view it as like a living resume, almost a virtual resume, if you will. That I'm I try to post as much as possible on my Instagram stories, and my actual feed itself, I'll maybe post every 3 or 4 days. Ideally, I would like to see it about every other day, but working on that. But yeah, so last year I took 63 listings, I believe, and God, most of those, I would say 80% were basically come listings.
Yeah.
And I believe that it was, one of those reasons is because they saw what I do on social media, and they didn't have to interview me. They didn't have to interview me because they've kind of been interviewing me since the day that they started following me. And, I set a goal about, it was about a year and a half ago. About a year and a half ago, that within 12 months, I wanted to list my first $1 million home. All right. And on month 11, which was about 6 months ago now, I get a random DM from one of my followers, and he just said, "Hey, I've been following you for years. I like what you're doing. I have a $1.6 million house to sell, and I want you to list it." I didn't have to do that at his kitchen table, do the whole dog and pony show. This is my listing presentation and things like that. But he's, spent the past 3 years getting to know me and getting to know my marketing and my work ethic and me as a human being. And so, and that was enough for him to say, this is the right guy to list my house.
That's just it. Is you literally probably retired your listing presentation for the most part, because these people have done what, they know who you are, they know what you do, and there's no doubt in my mind you probably still have one, and you probably pull it out on occasion, but it's not the norm anymore where you have to use that thing every single time, right?
Yeah, it's very rare that I go on a listing appointment where I'm up against other agents.
Yeah. That's huge. Having 60 plus listings, that's gigantic. That's awesome, dude. Well done, Mike. Austin, I didn't mean to interrupt you earlier.
No, you're good. It's super interesting stuff. I'm actually really curious. So you talked about social media as being a pillar. What percentage of your business is that? And then tell the audience, what are some of the other pillars that you do have that are maybe making up the rest of the percentage?
Yep. So don't know the math, but last year I did 28 million, and 6 million of that was from social media.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah. I don't know, 20, more than 25%.
And how much? I mean, that's free. I mean, most of it, right? Unless you're boosting posts and doing those kind of things.
I don't really boost posts a whole lot. I'll throw $20, I'll throw $50 here and there just for the heck of it, almost. I do pay somebody to do some of my content videos and listing videos. Obviously, she'll take some social media photos. But relatively speaking, she's not that expensive. Fortunately, I'm in that position where I can hire somebody, but it's only because I've seen value in pouring money into hiring somebody to kind of help capture my social media content. And maybe 50% of the posts that I've done over the past year or so have been professional type of photos.
So what are some of those other pillars then, besides social media? If you got 6 million of your 28, what are some of those other pillars you're using?
Yeah, so a handful of them were FSBOs, for sale by owners. I think I took 6 listings last year that were for sale by owners. But obviously referral and sphere, that's going to be number one. But I've never seen myself being by referral only sort of agent and saying that 100% of my business comes from referrals. And I think that's something that that it's okay for that I'm personally content with that. There's some agents that's all their business, that's where they want all their business to come from, and there's nothing wrong with that. The ROT, the return on time, is massive with that. It keeps their costs down, sort of thing. For me, I enjoy the process of meeting new people, and kind of converting them, for lack of a better word. I door knock quite a bit. I took a couple listings last year, and which also resulted in some buyers from door knocking. So I enjoy that process. So door knocking, FSBOs, sphere and referrals. I did quite a bit of sales last year from sign calls. I'm super focused on a couple neighborhoods on the north side of Indy. Broad Ripple, Meridian Hills, Meridian Kessler, Butler Tarkington. And when you have a sign in the yard, like there's one point where I had 4 signs in the yard, in different yards, within about a 4-block radius. And there was a guy that called me up. He said, "I just see your signs everywhere. I need you to come list my house." And so sign calls were a pretty decent pillar of my business last year as well.
I think that's something that so many people discredit anymore, or maybe even discount, is saying that things like that don't work anymore. But what I just heard you say is that you're using things like door knocking. You're using things. That's a nice fairway cup there.
That's an awesome cup.
But everything you just mentioned, Mike, is free. Is basically free. Calling FSBOs is free. Door knocking is free. Maybe you spend $50 here or there to help boost that, but ultimately what you're doing is a relatively low cost way of generating new business, and then doing that at a high level. I mean, when you get a sign call, it's easy to say, "Oh yeah, the house already sold," but then it's another question to turn that around and then turn that into a client. Yeah. And that's one of the things that it sounds like you've done an extraordinary job of, is really learning the skills that it takes to be a successful real estate agent. Because there's nobody that likes knocking on doors, but you've turned that into a highly leveraged form, way to do business and build relationships and provide value to people. So that's extraordinary, man. You've really developed some strong skills when it comes to sales and real estate. So I love hearing that.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to social media, that I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to getting new business. Mm-hmm. Something that I think has really helped me is looking at any opportunity or any situation that I find myself in as an opportunity to obtain a new relationship which will then hopefully turn into a new client, which will then hopefully turn into a new sale. And so whether I'm at, my daughter's school or door knocking or Starbucks, basically anybody that I meet, I look at them as somebody who I can just put into my database and love on them and feed on them and everything. And, and then potentially convert them into a sale at some point. Now, that being said, I'm not saying look at everybody as a paycheck, because that's, people are going to pick up on that very quickly. Which is why I don't call up my database and I'm like, hey, who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate this year? Because that's all about me. And so once I start pouring into other people, then the law of reciprocity says, hey, if Mike's helped me out with whatever's going on, then I want him to help, or then I want to help him out by sending him referrals and things like that.
So what are some ways that you're doing that? Because, it sounds like a huge percentage of your business at this point is referrals from your sphere, from people that you know as well. And, so what are some of those things that you're doing to stay in front of those, to stay top of mind? You've mentioned making phone calls to them and just checking in on people, seeing how they're doing. What are some of those other conversations that you're having and ways that you're staying in front of those people, whether it be from a system standpoint or just, reaching out on birthdays type thing?
Yeah. So, like, once somebody closes a sale, we have this whole comprehensive plan on how we're staying in touch with them. But, so if any of the people who are watching this or listening to this want to know kind of what our 50-point touch plan is after we close a sale, reach out to me. I'll give you that plan. But social media really is one of the biggest ways I stay in touch with them. I follow, every time I get a new client, I'm going to follow them. Usually just on Instagram. Again, Facebook, I think if you immediately, or at least maybe just my perspective, if you immediately friend somebody on Facebook, to me, it feels a little bit more personal than just Instagram. But, I'm following them on Instagram. Hopefully they're following me back. And so if they post something or if they're sharing something on social media, then I'm going to be commenting on it and just staying top of mind that way, of liking a photo, commenting on something. Just very simple, very quick, but making sure that they know that you're trying to engage with them. Something that is so easy to do. And I've seen a great return on that time that I've poured into just engaging with my clients via social media. About once every 3 or 4 months, I'll do like a quick market update video, send it out to just my database, just, a 2 to 5 minute market update on what's going on. It's a little salesy, I feel like, but, I feel like, I do want to brand myself as the market expert, not just the house, not just the physical house expert, but also what the housing market's doing. So I think that's one of the reasons why people hire us, obviously, is not just because I was a buddy in high school. It's because I'm one of the experts and know in the real estate market. We do a client party about twice a year. We do one really big one. It was supposed to be actually this Friday. It was supposed to happen.
That's a bummer.
Yep.
6 feet away.
What's that?
I said 6 feet away. You got to stay 6 feet away.
Yeah. Yep. And so, we do that client party, and I have this whole comprehensive plan on how I'm going out, going about like inviting the clients and following up with them after they come to the event. Or if they don't come to the event, shoot them a quick message or a note of some sort and saying that we missed you at the event. Just making sure that, that I'm staying top of mind through, I'll if I am friends with them on Facebook, we get the birthday updates on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And so every single time, just whenever I get that notification on whose birthday it is, I'll shoot out a card. I just, order, I don't know, maybe 500 birthday cards from, it was probably Amazon or something. And, I have everything kind of like pre-postage and kind of ready for me just to sign the card, happy birthday, have a great day, whatever, and then send it out. So I've kind of automated the birthday card send out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and obviously people don't get like physical mail that they like so much anymore. You know, they get just random junk mail, but not a whole lot of people are writing handwritten notes. So that's something I'm doing a lot. Birthday cards, 1 year house anniversaries. I also ordered about 500 generic just cards that say congratulations on it. So I can use that for, you know, for house anniversaries, for baby announcements, for wedding anniversaries, even birthdays, things like that. And so I'm always looking for ways to send out handwritten notes to people. And it's time consuming. It sucks. And my handwriting looks like a drunk 5-year-old's. But, you know, I'm not too concerned about that. I'm just concerned about getting something out to make sure that they're seeing that I'm, you know, that they're still on my radar. So then obviously, like, you know, we send out our monthly e-newsletters as a team with like a blog and a quick market update and things like that. So we do that 12 times a year. But like once you close on a house, like I said, we have this whole comprehensive plan on you know, with texting, video, email, phone call, and handwritten notes for the first year, that we're staying in touch with them and making sure that they understand that we just didn't collect our paycheck, then forget about them.
Mike, this has been super, super great. You've been awesome. You absolutely killed this interview. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of our audience that wants to get a hold of you, man. What's the best way that they can get a hold of you? We'll put it up on the screen too, but if you want to say it for everyone that's just listening, you know, how can they reach out?
Yep. So follow me on Insta. So it's Mike Feldman _realtor. Probably shoot me a text. I don't like email because I get so much business email. So just shoot me a quick text. That's probably the best way to say, you know, to immediately get a hold of me. 317-965-5034. And then, yeah, probably those two are the best ways to get a hold of me.
Well, Mike, we beyond appreciate the deep dive into how you're running your business. And I mean, you've really provided some very practical and actionable takeaways. So I really hope people go back and re-listen to this episode again. And if you took something away, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, Mike, I just simply can't thank you enough. I really, really appreciate the work that you do out there. I am certainly going to continue to steal ideas from you every single day. So please keep doing it. And we'll wrap this one up. So appreciate everybody's time on the latest edition of the Real Stories of Success. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks, guys.